Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Friday, February 27th. Ian Cameron with you. Matt Robinson joining me on this edition of the show. He'll be here in just a moment, breaking down the Friday NHL card. We got just 4 games on tap tonight, so lighter slate after the first 2 nights of action, where we had some more games on the card than what we have in store tonight. But it's a good card tonight, so looking forward to talking about it. Yesterday, a very, as always with the bigger slates like we had yesterday on Thursday, a very fun night of hockey overall. Boston Bruins 4-2 victory last night over the Columbus Blue Jackets. A very interesting turn of events there in that game last night, where Jonas Korpisalo ended up leaving the game ever so briefly, then came back. DiPietro had to come in for a brief moment for the Boston Bruins. And Korpisalo, a great performance. You know, that's kind of one of the things that, you know, I didn't talk about it yesterday. I probably should have. It always is concerning when you've got a guy that used to be on the team when he starts against them. You know, he always wants to play well. You know, he doesn't want to get embarrassed and have a poor showing, a poor performance, you know, when you're going against one of your former teams. You know, and we definitely saw that from Jonas Korpisalo. Of course, started his career as a goaltender for the Columbus Blue Jackets, played a very, very good game last night. I thought Columbus deserved a better fate, heavily outshot the Boston Bruins in that game, 40-23. But it ends up being a 4-2 Bruins win, and this great home record that the Bruins have continues. They continue to win games there at TD Garden. We saw the New York Islanders in a very entertaining game. How about the fact we had defensemen on both teams sitting on a potential hat trick in that game? The first 4 goals of the game were scored by 2 players. Noah Dobson had Montreal's first 2 goals, the former New York Islander. And, of course, Matthew Schaefer ends up getting the first 2 goals for the New York Islanders. So both of those players ended up being hat trick potential, but neither one did end up eventually getting the hat trick. But the New York Islanders get a 4-3 win. We cashed the draw. It was my favorite draw on the board yesterday, plus 340. It was a great price on that. So draw season does still live in the NHL post-Olympic break. So it was very nice to be able to cash that in and be able to get that in the win column, that draw at plus 340. Like I said, great price with that. The Detroit Red Wings, 2-1 overtime win against the Ottawa Senators last night. Ottawa probably deserved the win. They outplayed the Red Wings by a modest margin, but they did. It was a solid game from John Gibson. Turned aside all but 1 of 27 Ottawa shots in that game. And definitely give Detroit, a lot of credit for the 2-1 victory. And Dylan Larkin, who I thought had a pretty good showing at the Olympics for Team USA, gets both Detroit goals, including the game winner, to give the Detroit Red Wings the 2-1 victory there in that game. So, like I said, very, very excited to see that for the Detroit Red Wings. Ottawa, I still think Ottawa, again, they've had a lot of these type of games this year where the process is good. They only give up 20 shots and they find themselves on the losing end of that. And it's kind of been, they're one of the teams that's very unlucky to be not in a playoff spot right now. Because if you look at all their advanced numbers, expected goals for and against, high danger chances for and against, puck possession numbers, there's a lot to like with Ottawa, but too often this has happened to them this year. They play well enough to win and then they don't win. And unfortunately it's happened enough times where it's at the point now where you might it might end up costing them a playoff spot. There's still a chance, if they go on a run and they do meet the sad sack Toronto Maple Leafs tomorrow night. So that's a chance for them maybe to get back on track and in the win column. But like I said, Ottawa's just had a few too many of these games where everything looks good. They play a good game and they don't get the 2 points. And it kind of happened again to the Ottawa Senators last night. David from Raleigh, North Carolina, our guest weekly on the show. He was there in attendance at Lenovo Center for the Hurricanes last night. What a game that was. Carolina 5-4 win over the Tampa Bay Lightning. It was a quick start for Carolina with the 3 goals early, but the Lightning responded with 3 consecutive goals to tie it. And then it kind of went back and forth from there. Seth Jarvis gave Carolina the lead. Braden Point answered with a power play goal to tie it at 4 for Tampa. And then it was Sebastian Aho with what stood as the game-winning goal on the power play in the third period to give Carolina the lead 5-4 in that game. I did bet the live over, which did cash. Unfortunately, last night and yesterday, I made a big deal of the teams that had played a game having an advantage over the teams that hadn't played a game since the break. Well, that ended up not working out at all. It was pretty shocking to me to see how many of those teams that played the game, on Wednesday and were facing a team last night on Thursday that hadn't played. And the team that hadn't played, I think won almost every game pretty much. So that was just a bad read on my part. And unfortunately, that hurt what could have been an otherwise pretty solid night for me from a betting standpoint. Was banking on and relying on those teams having an advantage, having a game under their belt, shaking off the rust against a team that hadn't played, because a lot of those teams did not do well last night, the teams that played a game versus a team that hadn't. So, and this was one of those cases. Carolina, same thing with Toronto, Florida. Man, this was bad for Toronto, man. This was an awful first period with your season hanging in the balance and your playoff chances very slim at this point in time. To play a first period like you did last night against Florida, it's hard to fathom. And people are saying, well, they just don't care. They don't give a shit. They don't want to make the playoffs. They're just not good enough. It's not anything to do with caring and, not wanting it and any of that nonsense. It's just they suck, okay? They're not good enough. The Toronto Maple Leafs, right? They're not fast enough. They get hemmed in their own zone. They lose puck battles all over the ice. And it happened again last night. Turnovers in the neutrals. I don't know what William Nylander's doing there, trying to sashay through the neutral zone. He turns it over, and Evan Rodriguez with a short-handed breakaway goal the other way that really broke Toronto's back in that game, put him down 3-0. Terrible coverage breakdowns on the first 2 Florida goals. It was just a mess. Terrible for a team that's trying to save their season. And now that's 2 losses in a row to post-break for Toronto when they can't afford it. And now you got to wonder, and the reports are already circulating that the Brad Treliving has opened the office for business as far as retooling and making players available for trade. Like I said, it's just not been a good 2 games. Like if Toronto had flipped this and gone 2-0 against Tampa Bay and Florida, they're still alive. Now you're 0-2, and you've fallen further behind because Buffalo won their first game. That's a team you got to catch. Boston won their first game out of the break. That's a team you have to catch, and all you're doing is losing and falling further behind. So, it's hard to see a pathway that includes making the Stanley Cup playoffs this season now for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and that was pretty bad last night against the Florida Panthers. What wasn't bad was the Pittsburgh Penguins. Very solid performance. First game without Sidney Crosby. Maybe it's more of a reflection on New Jersey's just a disaster right now, but Pittsburgh 4-1 win against New Jersey. The dad bump for Yegor Shinikov. I know a lot of people like the goal prop for him last night in that game against the Devils, and a nice win for the Pittsburgh Penguins. And Artur Shilov's all of a sudden is playing his best hockey of the season. This has been a better stretch of games from Artur's Shilov's for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Only gives up the 1 goal last night. So nice victory there for the Pittsburgh Penguins, getting the job done against New Jersey 4-1 last night. What else did we see? Flyers beat the Rangers 3-2. So we did cash with the Flyers here. Well, we lose the over, but we did cash with Philly here in the 3-2 win. Matvei Mishkov, you watched the way he played last night for Philly, gets 2 goals, gets the overtime winner as well. And you think, why can't we get consistency out of this guy more often? Because that's what he's capable of, but you don't always see it on a consistent basis. He's been, Rick Tockett's talking about how he's not exactly kept himself in the best shape, coming into the season, but that's what he's capable of. He's got that kind of skill. And the Flyers get a 3-2 win there. Nashville beats Chicago 4-2. Kind of disappointing for Chicago, this performance. I'll give Justus Onanen credit. He was pretty solid in victory for a guy that we don't fully trust, and 2 goals allowed on the 23 shots. Nashville trying to keep their playoff hopes alive. A very, very important win for them there against Chicago, getting the job done by a score of 4-2 in that game. And then a lot of the late games, St. Louis, Seattle just... Man, that's not a good performance from Seattle coming off the loss to Matty Robb's Dallas Stars the night before. I expected a little bit more of a bounce back from the Kraken, but we did not see that last night. St. Louis puts it to them 5-1. Not good for Seattle. Like, I know Seattle's still in a playoff spot after last night, but these are the points that you can't fritter away. These are the points where if you're on the outside looking in and you're 2 points out or you're 1 point out and you miss the playoffs, you're going to look back and say, geez, that terrible St. Louis team that had lost how many games in a row before the break, and we lost to them coming out of the break, that maybe cost us a little bit. These are the kind of games that could come back to haunt for the Seattle Kraken, and that was certainly not a great game last night from them. The over did cash, so that's the one good thing about that game, even though the Seattle looks did not. This is when the night really got good. Well, San Jose is the one exception. We'll get to that. But, I mean, a miracle win with Minnesota. I'm telling you what, it's been a really good run across all sports for me the last month or two. Certainly, if you check out the Wizard Sports Picks website, you know that. It's been just insane, winning in all sports, every sport right now. NBA's in great form. College basketball's in incredible form. 13-1 run in college basketball just on that website alone, never mind the smaller bets I've been on in that sport that have been doing well. And of course, NHL has been dominant for the full season. When you have seasons and you have runs like this, you need games like this to go your way on a handful of occasions. And this Minnesota-Colorado over is a perfect example of that. You can't be great. You can't have a great run at sports betting in any sport without a handful of wins being these kind of bullshit wins that you don't deserve. And that was definitely Minnesota-Colorado. Although you could say, technically, maybe we did deserve it. Colorado did have 45 shots on goal in that game against Minnesota last night. So certainly the chances were there. The volume of opportunities were there. I mean, it was an 87 shots on goal hockey game. 47 by Colorado, 36 by Minnesota. So maybe we did deserve that over. But incredible the fashion it cashed in, because that was 2-1 Minnesota with about 5 minutes to go in the third period. Zuccarello with just under 5 minutes to go gives them an insurance goal, 3-1. And then, of course, Matt Boldy puts it into the empty net. Okay, 4-1 with 3 minutes to go. And you think, well, that's probably over. Colorado's not going to pull the goalie again. But then there's a penalty on Minnesota. Colorado gets a power play, and they decide, let's pull the goalie and make a two-man advantage out of it. Natchez scores with a minute to go to make it 4-2. And then at that point, with 57 seconds to go, you're absolutely thinking Jared Bednar's pulling the goalie again, probably. Crazier things have happened. Down 2 with 57 seconds left. He's probably pulling the goalie. That's exactly what happened. And we get the empty netter from Minnesota just seconds after that to make it 5-2, put it over the total. Incredible stuff. I mean, just, you can argue till the cows come home about whether we deserved it or not. But when you have a run like I've had personally, and when you have a total streak like the Minnesota Wild have had, which is now 19-2 to the over in the last 21 games, 22-5 to the over since Quinn Hughes got to the team. That's the kind of wins that sometimes propel a streak like that, as far as Minnesota Wild games going over the total. Just insane finish, some miracle win with the over. Which was the best bet, of course, on the show yesterday. And a great win for Terry Edelman's Minnesota Wild, 5-2. Although I told him in the chat, Terry, you better win tonight. It's not great win against Colorado. You close the gap to 5 points. They still have 2 games in hand on you. And you've got a tough spot tonight against Utah. We know that back-to-back in altitude is very difficult. And Utah's coming off a loss to Colorado. So Utah's going to be looking to bounce back, play better tonight. So we'll get into that later. But like I said, tough spot for Minnesota. Great win last night. But, even though it's an easier opponent tonight, it's not necessarily an easier spot tonight for Minnesota. And we'll talk about that game in just a bit. Very disappointing from San Jose. 4-1 against Calgary. Jonathan Davis will probably don't know these numbers. I just am guessing off the top of my head. But we know San Jose has not been favored very often this season. And what I will say is that the few times they've been favored hasn't gone well. I think they've lost more than they've won the times they've been a favorite this season, which hasn't been very often. And it happened again last night, losing 4-1 to Calgary. But Dustin Wolf was exceptional. That was a great game from him in net for the Flames. And, Flames were opportunistic with their chances. They played a pretty sound road game, and they got a nice 4-1 win there against the San Jose Sharks. And then we wrapped up the night with the shit show in L.A. I mean, it's bad that you're losing to a depleted, short-handed Vegas team that sat, pretty much every key contributor and best player on Wednesday night. And then you play an Edmonton team that's been a mess defensively, just blew multiple leads and collapsed against Anaheim the night before. And you lose 8-1, 8-1 last night. The LA Kings get absolutely embarrassed, humiliated, disgraced, whatever words you want to use on home ice against the Edmonton Oilers. So it's a terrible performance. I don't know if I've ever seen Darcy Kemper play worse than he did last night. I mean, he looked totally rusty as hell in that game. Terrible with soft goals left and right. Now, that didn't help either, but they looked slow. They looked out of position defensively. Their defensive game has come apart a little bit. The LA Kings. It's almost like with Panarin here. They're thinking, let's think more offense and let's forget about, taking care of our own net. And that was definitely an ugly night. And it looked like once that game got away, there was no pushback. I didn't see any emotion on the bench. I saw the deer in the headlights, 1,000-mile stare look from everybody, on the Kings bench. And it got ugly. We're going to play it for you right now. This was some of the scenes last night during the game in the third period as that game turned into an utter blowout and an utter embarrassment, really, for the LA Kings, as the locals there in Los Angeles, not too thrilled. This is what we were. Fire Hiller chants, and about as loud as they've probably ever been in that building. And, they've had just cause 8 times, 10 times, 12 times. Pick whatever number you want to use to fire this man, and they haven't done it. What makes me think that anything's going to happen this time? If there's ever a time to fire the damn coach, it's after these last 2 games. But I'm not holding my freaking breath. I'm not. Because they have held this guy around much longer than they should have. Like I said, there's been countless examples of times earlier this season that they could have canned him. They absolutely had a reason to can him after last year and that collapse in the first round in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Bad decisions to challenge, bad lineup decisions, playing guys for 2-3 minutes for the entire game and wearing out your top players. A gamut of issues with him coaching behind that bench, and a collapse in that first round against Edmonton. And like I said, still didn't make a change. Haven't made a change even though there were times this year the Kings have been embarrassed. Why should I even think anymore that something's going to happen out of that last night? Why should I even think it anymore? So I'm not holding my breath. Maybe it does happen. Maybe that was the straw that breaks the camel's back last night. That kind of a performance against a team that, again, beat your ass in the first round last year again. Like I said, it's if you don't fire Jim Hiller after that last night, when do you fire him? It's never going to happen, in my opinion. Not this season. If you don't do it after last night, when the fuck's it happening? When is it happening? That's an utter embarrassment last night by the LA Kings. And like I said, you would think that could be it for him, but like I said, I'm not holding my breath. Whether it's Ken Holland, whether it's Luc Robitaille, whether they don't want to fire him, whether they can't fire him, I don't know what the hell is going on. But clearly, they've had opportunities to do it, and they haven't done it. So, like I said, issues right now with the LA Kings. And yes, I actually feel pain for Anze Kopitar. This is a guy that's going to go into the Hall of Fame. He's had a brilliant career with the LA Kings. We know this is his final season. He already had announced that he's retiring after this season. He's going to go out on this kind of a year. That's awful. Terrible for a guy that's had such a great career. All right, let's get Matty Robb in here. Enough of me. Matt, good to see you, my friend. How are things going? Talk anything you want to. I think you might have had a piece of that Minnesota. I know you've been on those Minnesota overs along with the rest of us. But how was last night, and how did the board treat you, and your thoughts on what we saw Thursday night?
Yeah, yesterday was a little lighter for a 12-game slate for me. I just, I was pretty excited for Wednesday. One pretty big Wednesday night. Kind of a 50-50 night. I was definitely had some L's early on, and then we got some wins at the end of the night. So decent Wednesday. Ended up right around even money. And then yesterday was able to go 2-0. My 2 premium plays yesterday, one of which was that Minnesota-Colorado game. I mentioned to you, I got off the rink and looked at my phone. I think there was like 6.5 minutes left. It was 2-1 Minnesota. I was like, well, that's an L. And then as I'm driving home, all of a sudden it's 3-1, then it's 4-1, then it's 4-2, then it's 5-2. I actually had live bet at 5.5. And that's what I had gotten in on my premium pick was 5.5 because I had posted that on Tuesday. But just watching through the games, and then it was 0-0 late in the first, and I was able to jump on 5.5 plus 140. I just felt like it was a good price given those two teams. And yeah, if I had known that there was going to be 83 shots on goal during that game, I would have said the over hits 99% of the time. What's crazy is we got pretty lucky that there was some late goals. So that was good to see. And then the other premium pick I had yesterday was the Islanders Canadians over 5.5. Another pick that I posted on Tuesday. Just two teams. The Islanders were the Wild to start the year. They were the team to take the overs on. They were as hot as can be with overs. Obviously, that slowed down quite a bit before we got to the Olympic break. I mean, even dating back to the holidays and stuff, the Islanders definitely cooled off in that sense. But they're just a team that they have the offensive firepower. Schaefer is so good, not just for his age, just so good in general. But the fact that he is a rookie is even more impressive. But they're just a team that scores goals, doesn't defend perfectly or anything like that. So it felt like a 5.5 felt like a good price for that game. Montreal is sort of a similar boat. They're not, dominant defensively, but they do score goals at times. So it was nice to see that one get to overtime. But overall, pretty light card. Not a ton of surprises. I agree with you. I would have, I don't know that I would have taken Seattle, but I would have expected a lot better effort. They had the slow start in Dallas. They showed some life in the third, but down 4-0 on the road to a team like Dallas, it's tough to come back. So I expected a little more effort. St. Louis has struggled at times this year, so to see that was a little surprising. The Rangers continue to just get beat. They're definitely a team that I'm fading until they prove me otherwise. I mean, that effort by JT Miller in overtime was like pretty insane. That's your captain's effort in an overtime game at home. But good for the Flyers to get that OT win. I was sort of following along the late games a little bit. I was a little surprised to see San Jose come out that flat. They showed some life. I think they ended up with 35, 36 shots, but to only score one goal against the Flames at home, not what you need if you're trying to push for that, wild card spot. The Sharks are kind of one of those teams still in the hunt, could absolutely make the playoffs. But losses at home to a Flames team that it's pretty clear our sellers coming up, and I think a couple of their best players are gone within the next few days. So disappointing loss for San Jose. And then LA, they've dealt with some injuries. The injury at the Olympics was obviously a tough blow, but they're just a team that if they're playing somebody that's scoring, then it's over because they just can't. If you get 3 goals on the LA Kings, you're going to win the game 99% of the time right now. So they're just, they can play that low and slow game and stay with teams in a 2-1 game and maybe get an overtime win here and there. But they're a problem right now. So overall, pretty solid day or night of games. I think that Tampa Bay Carolina game was probably the most exciting game on the card. Just a lot of back and forth.
That was a great game.
Yeah, good game. I really wanted to take the over in that one. My afternoon got away from me and it was like 4:45 before I could. And obviously there was it 3-2 after the first? It was 3-2 after the first. So there was no live betting overs in that game. Goals came quick. So always good to see. Back and forth. Those are two good teams, two teams that will likely still be around, into the playoffs. So
Showed you what Carolina
overall,
is capable of. We always look at Carolina as this team that, can't get over the hump in the playoffs, but they just beat, a Tampa Bay team that's been damn near unbeatable for a month or two. And I know, look, they got a break because they faced Johansson, not Vasilevsky. We do have to remember that. But that's still a very good win for Carolina. And they need wins like that against the Tampas. And earlier, Florida may not make the playoffs, but still to beat Florida was a big deal for them, given the playoff struggles. But they need to show what they can do against some of the best teams, Carolina. And that was a good win for them last night.
Yeah, no doubt. And I know it is tough. I know it's not a crazy far trip, but Tampa was at home Wednesday night, and then they've got to travel into Carolina. You've got the angle that you mentioned with they at least played a game, but Carolina coming in fresh. I felt like it was a good spot for Carolina. So good to see. Tampa is a really tough, I think, especially given how the Avs are playing, I think Tampa's got to be the hottest team in the league overall. So to get a win, regardless of scheduling, always a nice win for Carolina. But a little 4-game slate tonight. I do have some looks that I like in tonight's card. And then we obviously got a big 13-game Saturday. And then now that football is behind us, we've got a nice 6-game slate with a couple national TV games on Sunday. So exciting weekend of hockey. And I know, obviously, specific to Dallas, I think between now and the end of the season, they have 2 times that they have more than 1 day in between games. They've got like 5 back-to-backs. So it's going to be jam-packed, not just for Dallas. Every team is going through it. But with the condensed schedule, with the Olympics, the positive for us as NHL bettors is every night of the week, Monday 6 games, Wednesday 5 games. So for these next few weeks until we get to the end of the season, you'll have very few 2 or 3 game nights. It'll be 5, 6, 7, and then the 12, 13 game nights. So a lot to look forward to.
No doubt. Before we get to the 4 games on Friday, I did want to mention to everybody watching that there was a Winter Classic last weekend. I don't know if anyone knew that. I know people think, what are you talking about? Winter Classic was New Year's Day like it always is. No, there was a Winter Classic last weekend. It was a Winter Classic. Now, it wasn't an NHL Winter Classic, but it was one involving Matt Robinson. As you know, he plays for a senior men's league, Marino Ice Raiders. He's played for them for years. They went to, I believe the place is called Midway, Utah, and they ended up playing an outdoor hockey game on Saturday against a team called the Park City Pioneers. And it was quite the experience for Matt. And like I said, it's apparently, Matt will confirm this, apparently it was the first outdoor game that league had ever had. So pretty cool experience to be part of that. We'll just get a little clip up there because they streamed the game on the team's YouTube channel. Like I said, it's it's the not the greatest camera angle, but at the same point in time, that's for damn sure. But still, you see the players skating as the game's going on. Look at that background. Like just as the sun is setting, you got the snow-covered mountains in the background. Well, you did see them. I don't know what happened there, but like I said, it was just a great view. It was absolutely phenomenal. With that, I don't know what the hell happened to the video here, but we had it there for a bit. But like I said, the view with the mountains was absolutely phenomenal, and just a great backdrop. And Matt, pretty cool experience. I mean, even if it's just a senior men's league, to have an outdoor game like that, and the mountains in the background, playing in the outdoors and the elements, and middle of February, that must have been cool.
Yeah, it was an awesome experience. It was definitely interesting. We played in a nice arena that's brand new in Park City. Friday night, there was 10 or 11 fights during the game. It was a pretty rowdy game. And then for the quote unquote Winter Classic, we were sharing a locker room with Park City. So we're sitting around getting dressed, 5 feet away from the team that that we were going at it with the night before. But the nature of Senior A is, it's very rare that
there weren't any brawls
carries
in the dressing room there before the game.
Yeah. In Senior A, it's everyone kind of knows what it is. So there's very rarely anything that carries over.
Yeah, keep it on
game
the
to
ice.
game,
Keep
or
it on the ice.
even after a game. A lot of our game weekends, Friday night you play, and then you go out to the bar with the other team, have a couple beers, and then play again Saturday night. So, it was really cool experience. It was interesting warm-ups, and the first period it was still sunny out. It was above freezing, so it was a little slushy out there. And then the sun went down. The lighting wasn't NHL grade. So it was kind of dark out there. There was times like there were areas of the ice you just couldn't see. So the puck would just hit your stick and you're like, oh fuck, I guess I have the puck. So but yeah, it was fun. We had a good crowd. We had some fans travel in from Reno, which was cool. The normal wives and girlfriends that go along on trips and stuff like that. So had a good little Reno crew. Games didn't go our way as far as the scoreboard. I think we lost 5-3 Friday night and then 6-2 or 6-3 Saturday. But those games like that, it's not really at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Win or lose. It's more about the experience and having fun. And to your point, playing with mountains in the background, a little bit of snow early in the game and things like that. So definitely a cool experience. Looking back, and I growing up in Dallas, there's been very few times I've skated outside. A couple, ponds and stuff up north on hockey trips and things like that. But definitely not a normal occurrence getting dressed in like a field house, walking over to the rink and getting on the ice. So it's definitely a cool experience.
No doubt. Nothing like playing outdoors. It is. And like I said, first time that league that you're in has ever had an outdoor game. So that's like I said, that backdrop was really nice. It was a good time to start the game, like just as the sun's going down, perfect time. Like I said, a great experience. Like I said, fuck the final score. Who cares? That's a great experience. Who cares, win or loss? It was a good experience, and no doubt I'm sure you and the rest of the team enjoyed it. All right, let's get into Friday's card. We got a 4-game slate. We'll begin with Vegas and Washington. We've got Washington minus 115, home favorites, 6 the total here in this game. The Vegas Golden Knights beating this hapless LA Kings team, their first game back from the break. You got to give Vegas credit. You can talk all you want how shit the Kings have been in these 2 games following the break, but you got to give Vegas credit for that win on Wednesday in LA. I mean, they didn't have Jack Eichel. They didn't have Shea Theodore. They didn't have Mitch Marner. They didn't have Mark Stone. There was a handful of like almost all their best guys were out for that game, and they still found a way to get the job done in that victory over the LA Kings. It looks like everybody is going to be back tonight as expected. That was the plan all along, that these guys would meet the team in Washington and be in the lineup tonight against the Capitals. So Eichel's in, Stone's in, Marner's in, Theodore's in for this Vegas Golden Knights team. So all hands back on deck here tonight for the Vegas Golden Knights in this game. Washington, meanwhile, this is a team that needs to put wins together. They're on the outside looking in as far as the playoffs are concerned. They get the win coming out of the break in their first game against the Philadelphia Flyers the other night. We'll see if they're able to build on that here. There's one angle that's got me shifting toward taking Washington here, though. Logan Thompson, he's got an axe to grind with Vegas. This guy's coming to play tonight. He wants to be dialed in and just stonewall this team, because they're the team that decided, Vegas, hey, you know what? It's time to part ways. It's time to move on. Logan Thompson ends up going to Washington. Now you can say what the reasons were for that. Apparently there was some issues maybe with the coaching staff and Cassidy with Thompson, but at the same point in time, there's no doubt Logan Thompson is going to want to put a good showing out there tonight against the Vegas Golden Knights with how things kind of ended there at the end of that game. So, like I said, I thought he was very sharp in that first game after the Olympics against Philadelphia. I thought he played a really solid game in net, and I trust him more than Akira Schmid right now for the Vegas Golden Knights, who's going to be in between the pipes here tonight for the Vegas Golden Knights. So, I just think, and plus I know for a fact everyone's going to see Vegas beating LA with everybody out, all their key guys out. Everyone's going to see Vegas only minus 105 tonight. Vegas minus 105 tonight, and a situation where, now everyone's back, and I've assumed that, hey, Vegas won with all their guys out. Now they got everyone back. Of course they're going to win tonight. Doesn't always work that way. I think Thompson has a big game. I think I would lean under, actually, as far as this game's concerned, because I think it's definitely Washington's going to start playing that way. I think Spencer Carberry knows. I don't have an electrifying offensive lineup this season. If we're going to win games, we need good goaltending. We need to be sound in our own zone, and we got to try to win the type of game we won the other night, 3-1 against Philadelphia. So I'm on Washington here, minus 115. Little sprinkle on the draw as well, East versus West. So neither team is going to care that the other gets points out of this game. So Capitals and a lean to and a small bet on the draw for me here as well. Matt, anything for you here? Vegas, Washington.
Nothing new to add, because those are the 2 plays I like. I lean under here. I'm not going to bet the under because if I do bet the under, it'll be an 8-7 game. But
Welcome to the club. That's what
I
happens with me when I bet unders. So yeah.
yeah, I probably bet 5 unders per NHL season, and I'm less than 20%. So I'd rather just not bet it than bet it. But yeah, I think I lean Washington here. I love the Logan Thompson angle. I think he's not just played well this season, but this is a game that is always going to be circled for him. Um, and then I think the other piece for me, um, sort of lost my train of thought. With the draw, I agree with the draw as well because the East-West angle. Um, I just think if it is 1-1, 2-2 with 10 minutes left in the third, both teams are just going to kind of pass it around and try and get a point. So unless we get some crazy penalty late in the game, I like draw here as well. So Caps, and typically I would take like Caps and team total over, but I honestly could see this being like a 1-1 game going to overtime. So probably not the most exciting game, despite both these teams being teams that can be exciting. But I just think tonight will be sort of a low and slow game. Friday games to me often seem to be a little lower and slow, and then Saturday it seems like goals galore. So I usually bet a little lighter on overs on Fridays anyway. But yeah, Caps and draw here for me.
Yeah, as far as there are some I mean, we have to ride Pavel Dorofeyev. This guy, Dorofeyev, he's been absolutely outstanding for the Vegas Golden Knights. Seems like he's, a threat to score every time he touches the puck. That's the kind of run we've seen out of Pavel Dorofeyev. He scored in 3 straight games for the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, prices for him to find the back of the net aren't as good as they once were, but you're still getting in some instances here, still at that plus 205 range. Plus 210 for Dorofeyev. The one that I really like that's got the value is Close Shave Barbashev. That's right. Our old friend, Ivan Barbashev, on the top line for the Vegas Golden Knights. Still getting a really good price for him in that plus 380 range to find the back of the net. He scored against LA in the first game following the Olympic break, and he scored in 4 of the last 5 games for the Vegas Golden Knights, 5 of the last 10 games as well going into tonight. So definitely Dorofeyev, the Russian connection, if you will, with the Vegas Golden Knights, Dorofeyev and Barbashev. Definitely, as far as goal props, liking both of those on the Vegas side of things. For the Washington Capitals, Tom Wilson, by the way, is good to go. He will be in the lineup tonight for the Caps in this game. He, of course, had been battling an illness that kept him out of the Philadelphia game on Wednesday, but he's back tonight. He'll be lined with Strome and Ovechkin on the top line. McMichael, Pierre-Luc Dubois, and Alexei Protas formulate the second line tonight for the Washington Capitals. One thing to point out about McMichael has actually got, as far as Washington forwards are concerned, he's got the best head-to-head. Wilson does. Wilson actually has scored the most goals against Vegas of any current Washington Capital forward. And Chychrun might be worth a look because he's scored against Vegas multiple times in the past. His head-to-head numbers against Vegas aren't bad, but so are Connor McMichael. So Wilson, Chychrun, McMichael. We mentioned Protas too a lot. He's always a threat maybe to find the back of the net. Those are some of the goal props that would have my interest on the Washington side here tonight. Like I said, Schmid and Thompson, your goaltending matchup here in this one. All right, next up, we've got Buffalo and Florida. It is Florida minus 115, slight home favorites here, 6 the total in this game. Florida off a 5-1 win against Toronto. Very impressive. They came out ready, although their opponent didn't come out ready. Toronto, they were awful in that first period. That being said, great start. If Florida is talking the talk, like they're not giving up on a playoff spot, making the playoffs. It's going to be difficult. There's a lot of teams they've got to leapfrog, and a lot of work still needs to be done. But that's at least a good start in the right direction here going into this game. I need to see more from Florida. Toronto's a bit of a mess the way they've played in these first 2 games here coming out of the break. Buffalo, meanwhile, I thought they played a really good road game. Now, New Jersey's nothing to write home about, but I still think Buffalo did a nice job. They played well. I think that's big for their psyche because if they lose that first game out of the break, it's going to be all those old ghosts and skeletons in the closet from the past, and all those collapses and all those failures of the past start to ring true. And like, are we going to fall out of the playoffs again? Are we going to have one of these second half collapses, post-Olympic break collapses? And to win that game against New Jersey, I think just from a belief standpoint within the Sabres dressing room, that was a very important win to have. Alex Lyon will be in net for the Buffalo Sabres tonight. He has been very good. He's been a big part of why the Sabres are in a playoff spot. His goaltending has been solid. He's given them really solid goaltending. The numbers are solid. 2.72 goals against, .913 save percentage. He's facing the Florida Panthers, a team that he has, I believe, already faced this season and played pretty well against them. Yeah, he shut him out back on October 18th. This is a former team of his. He's played well against the Panthers in the past. I wouldn't be totally shocked if he plays well tonight. And I don't trust the netminder on the other side, Danil Tarasov. 5 goals allowed in each of his last 2 starts for the Florida Panthers going into this outing tonight. He didn't play well in the last couple times we saw him going into the break. Florida beat Toronto. Okay, great. Now you're on a back-to-back. Buffalo's got a rest advantage. Buffalo's played you well this year. Lyon has played well against you. Lyon has been great. I'm on Buffalo here, -105. I got to see more from Florida. I think the Sabres, I thought this should have been flipped. I think you can make a case Buffalo should have been a small road favorite, not Florida, a small home favorite here in this game. I like what I'm seeing. Lyon is the goalie I trust more right now. I'm on the Sabres here, -105. Matt, what do you think here? Sabres, Panthers.
Yeah, I also am on Buffalo in this game. I think I rode Buffalo on Wednesday night. Again, not a game, the end all be all. That they're going to continue with that streak, but nevertheless, a nice win over the Devils on the road to kind of kick things back into gear. I just am not sold yet that Florida is going to really make the push. I feel like, could they do it? Absolutely. But, after the runs they've had the last couple of years, it's even tougher. They're at a fatigue level that a team like Buffalo that hasn't seen the playoffs in a long time is not feeling. So I like the Sabres here. I'm going to ride them until they, prove me different. And I agree, the goalie matchup definitely leans Buffalo here. So I'm going to be on Buffalo. I am going to split it up with the team total. I got over 3. I know that there's 2.5s out there. There's 3.5s out there. I like 3. Just on the off chance we get like a 3-1 game, at least you get your money back. But I could definitely see a case for 3.5 here, given Florida's goalie's last couple starts. So Buffalo team total here. I don't know. I could make a case for the over potentially, but I think if anything, I would jump on a first period over and hope to get 2 goals in the first. I could see this being like a 3-1 type game. So not going to jump on the over. Maybe I'll throw a little on the first period over if I'm tuning into this game at 7:00 Eastern time. Just some excitement. But again, I always tread lightly on overs on Fridays. I don't know what it is. That's just historically, it's Friday, end of the work week. I'm like, hell yeah, let's throw some bets on overs. And then you get a lot of 1-0 first period, 0-0 first period. So because I've said that twice now, every game's probably going to fly over the over tonight, but I will tread lightly just given that it's a Friday. And then tomorrow there's a lot of overs that I already am a fan of. So
yeah, no question. Like I said, Buffalo for me. I will also be betting a live team total over 2.5 on Buffalo. It's too pricey pregame to bet it. We're seeing that over 2.5 at -165, -170. If that thing drops, if we get some scoreless hockey early, and then we can get a 2.5 at even money with Buffalo, or -120 or better is usually my strike price with live wagers. I'll add the Buffalo team total. Over 2.5 during the game. As far as props go, going into this Buffalo-Florida game, I think I mentioned this before the New Jersey game in the first game after the break for Buffalo, that Peyton Krebs is live to score goals. If he keeps playing with Tage Thompson, he's live to score goals for this team. And we saw him get the second goal for Buffalo in that victory against New Jersey on Saturday or on Wednesday night. He's still up on that top line with Thompson and Tuck. There's great value with Peyton Krebs. Again, plus 575 at FanDuel for him to find. That's great. That's a great, unbelievably great price for someone playing on the top line with Tage Thompson, who just happens to be feeling it right now. He's been absolutely tremendous. 2 games in a row with a goal at a great Olympics for Team USA. Scored in the return. Scored the first goal of that game against New Jersey. Thompson and Krebs were the goal scorers the other night for the Buffalo Sabres in that 2-1 win. But yeah, Krebs has a lot of value. Zucker, has been pretty solid for them lately. With Matt Robinson on the show today, maybe this is a night you talk about Josh Doan finding the back of the net here for the Buffalo Sabres. It seems like friends of Matty Rob seem to score on days that he's on the show. So maybe it's a Josh Doan kind of night for Buffalo. On the flip side for Florida, I like Evan Rodriguez again. We talked about that as well last night before the Toronto game. He's centering the Reinhart-Verhaeghe line. Scored that breakaway goal shorthanded against Toronto last night. So there's good value with Evan Rodriguez to find the back of the net. Mackie Samoskevich, who's on the second line. He potted one last night for the Florida Panthers as well in that game. So, like I said, definitely. He didn't. He didn't, Samoskevich. He had scored a goal, but you're right. That was one of the goals where Toronto challenged it for offside and won the challenge. So that's what took that Samoskevich goal off the board last night. How about Toronto, too? They've had like 3 offside challenge wins, in the last 2 nights. So, but yeah, Rodriguez, Samoskevich, I think are good prop looks here for the Florida Panthers as far as goal props tonight in this one. All right, let's move on to Minnesota, Utah. We've got Utah minus 135 home favorite, 6.5 the total. 6.5 of this total. I say that with shock because, believe it or not, overnight, it had to have been around probably 11:30 p.m. Eastern time last night. I picked off, I think it was at Bovada or Bodog, one of those books. It was one of the more obscure books. I was able to pick off an over 5.5 at minus 130 in this game with Minnesota and Utah. I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw it. It's like, I don't even care that I rarely ever bet at this damn book. I got to hit that. I got to hammer that. 5.5? Really? With this 19-2 run to the over for Minnesota in their last 21 games and 22-5 to the over since Quinn Hughes arrived. I couldn't believe I could not believe. I was shocked that I saw 5.5 with that total last night at that one book with this Minnesota-Utah game. So, yeah, absolutely, I jumped on that. It quickly moved to 6, or it actually, most books opened it at 6. There were only a couple that added at 5.5, and now the 6s, they're all gone pretty much. There's a couple stray 6s out there, not many. Most books have moved this to 6.5 now with Minnesota and with Utah. Even at 6.5, it's good. I like it. I mean, these games are hitting the 7+ goals mark too when these games have been going over the total. So we're on that again. We're riding this great run with Minnesota overs. I don't love them in this spot, though. And how about Philip Gustafsson late in that game? Now, he did face a shit ton of rubber. And this is a guy that was on a long flight back from Italy participating in the Olympics, had to face a ton of rubber last night, over 40 shots thrown at him by Colorado. And how about him just laying a nice little puke job right there in the crease last night, late in the third period. Puked right on the ice. Hilarious scene. Maybe not so hilarious for him, but hilarious. Funny to see that. Just puked right on the ice. Came out of the game late in that third, and Jesper Wallstedt actually had to finish the game there for the Minnesota Wild in net last night. So pretty funny scene there for poor Philip Gustafsson. They've got him listed as day-to-day now coming off the game last night. I figured this was probably going to be a Jesper Wallstedt start anyway. So it'll be Jesper Wallstedt, I'm sure of it, for Minnesota. It hasn't been confirmed, but I'm sure it'll be him in net. Karel Vejmelka will be in net here for Utah in this game tonight. He'll look to bounce back after not a great performance in his first start against Colorado after the break. Gave up 4 goals in that 4-2 loss to the Avs in that game. I'm going to sprinkle on Utah money line pregame, minus 135. I like the draw a little bit here. There's another draw that I think might be worth a shot here in this game. I have a feeling it could be a game with overtime potential. If you're Minnesota, you could be in a scenario where you're just hanging on, trying to keep it close in the third period and just hope to at least somehow get this to OT and get a point out of this game. here tonight. So I've got a little piece of the Mammoth and the draw as well. Primary bet, though, as you guys know, hell, you don't even have to watch the show anymore. Why watch this show when it comes to a Minnesota Wild game analysis? You guys know what we like. And that's the over here in this one primarily with the Wild and the Mammoth. Matt, anything to add here? Minnesota, Utah.
Yeah, this is I actually jumped on this with a premium play at 5.5 as well. I think that was Wednesday, so that was right when they opened. There was a couple 5.5s out there. They were a little juiced, but I think this is a prime candidate for a same game parlay. 1.5, 5.5 should get right around plus money. That way, we're not needing 7 goals. We just need 6. We do need the 2 in the first, but Minnesota with a nice win last night. They should be feeling pretty good. I think they'll have a good start. I agree with you. I think the double altitude angle later in the game, if Minnesota's up 3-1 after the second, I think they can sort of cruise control into a win. But I think if this game's tied late, I think I might live bet at Utah here. But just as far as the first period, I think Minnesota is feeling good after a nice win against Colorado. Nice getting back into the post-Olympics, continuing to play well. So I think we absolutely could see a goal here early for the Wild. And I think Utah at home, they want to play well and get going early as well. So it doesn't matter if it's 1-1 or 2-0, 2-1, whatever. This same game parlay look for me. I don't know. I think if you flip the odds, I'd probably take Utah plus 115, but I just think, I lean Utah a little bit, but I would not be shocked if Minnesota wins this game. They're playing good hockey. So I think I'll keep it simple and just stay on the first period full game and just hope that it's, 8-5 or sorry, 8-7, hits overtime for you. And then, both teams kind of kill each other being central teams. So that would be a perfect scenario for me, but we'll see tonight.
All right, good stuff. As far as props for me in this game, I do want to mention Boldy and Zuccarello and Eriksson Ek for Minnesota. They all got on the board last night against Colorado. Dylan Guenther got both Utah goals against Colorado, first game back. So, they're obviously pretty solid goal prop candidates. One I want to throw out there, he's playing on the third line only for Utah. Now, Lawson Crouse, I'm going to go back to the well with him. Obviously, I wouldn't talk anyone out of Dylan Guenther or Logan Cooley, who might actually have a little bit more of a sturdy game tonight with a game now under his belt back from injury. But Kyler Yamamoto is the one I'm talking about. He's on the third line, but he also plays on the second power play unit right now for Utah. His head-to-head numbers against Minnesota are very good. I don't know what it is. For some reason, Kyler Yamamoto has scored a lot against Minnesota in the past. So if you buy into that, then maybe you will want to consider a look toward Kyler Yamamoto here for the Utah Mammoth tonight. I think a lot of those goals were when he was with Seattle and with Edmonton and other teams he was with earlier in his career. But for some reason, Yamamoto has found the back of the net on more than one occasion here against the Minnesota Wild. So this could be a night to maybe look toward Yamamoto if you're looking for a bit of a longer shot, bit of a dark horse option as far as a goal prop in this game. All right, last game for Friday, Winnipeg, Anaheim. We've got Anaheim minus 130 home favorites. The total is currently 6 shaded to the actually, it's pretty much 6 even money right now across the board in this one. 1,000th win for Anaheim, or 1,000th win for Joel Quenneville the other night in comeback fashion for the Anaheim Ducks. We'll see if they can build on that. Now, I don't think they're going to love portions of that game, especially, giving up the number of goals they did. But they're a resilient young group, and they don't give in. And we saw clear evidence of that against Edmonton in that game where they were coming back from multiple deficits. Winnipeg, I guess we'll give them a little bit of credit, right? They beat Vancouver first game out of the break 3-2. They're too far behind. I mean, they're trying to sell it that win, they're saying, if we get on a little bit of a run here, maybe we get a chance. You have no chance, okay? I mean, you're too far behind as far as I'm concerned with the playoffs, with where you're at as far as the playoff standings right now are concerned. And plus you beat Vancouver. I can't get excited. I can't do handstands over beating the Vancouver Canucks. Now you're playing, an Anaheim team that is a good team, a very good team. They're now second in the Pacific Division with that win, obviously, against Edmonton the other night. We'll see how they fare here. They're still going to be without Granlund, possibly. He's still day-to-day. And don't forget, there's still a mash unit a little bit on the blue line, Winnipeg. There's multiple defensemen out. Josh Morrissey being the big one, their best defenseman. Neil Pionk is on IR. Hayden Fleury's on IR. Colin Miller's on IR. So they've got some injuries right now on the back end, this Winnipeg Jets team. I believe Dostal will start for Anaheim again, although it's not confirmed. It will be the return of Connor Hellebuck for Winnipeg. Obviously, it was a no-brainer that he would not play against Vancouver, coming off the the trip to Washington, winning the gold medal. That they'd give Eric Comrie that start. He actually played pretty solid in net, Comrie, that night for the Winnipeg Jets. But Hellebuck will be back and in between the pipes tonight in this game for the Winnipeg Jets. But I'm on Anaheim. Give me the Anaheim Ducks here, minus 130. Quack, 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 quack. I just think they're a better team. The price is cheap enough. Now, I said this about San Jose last night. That's the little fear in the back of my mind that I have here. I said this same shit about San Jose last night. Gosh, 130 home favorite, same price range against Calgary. Such a cheap price for the better team. And I took San Jose, and obviously they did not get the job done. But there's a different scenario. Anaheim, playing well. Leo Carlson being back is significant, too. You just look one game with him back against Edmonton and the difference that he makes. But I think it's cheap enough to me to back the Anaheim Ducks here. So give me Anaheim minus 130. I'll look to bet a live first period full game over. I'm going to see if I can maybe get a few minutes of scoreless hockey, get a 5.5. I lean over, but I'm going to see if I can get a 5.5 out of it live during the game. Matt, what do you think here? Final game, Jets, Ducks.
Yeah, I think this might be a same game parlay as well. The Hellebuck angle does scare me a little bit just because, no one's got to have more confidence
we don't
right
talk
now.
About letdowns with an individual. Matt, we talk more about team letdowns. This might be more of an individual emotional letdown a little bit for Connor Hellebuck. Like, you're coming off the game of your life. You've had no better game, no bigger game in your career than winning the gold medal. You were the sole factor for beating Canada in the gold medal game for Team USA. His goaltending is probably 80% of why they won that game, and I might even be selling it short. That's how good he was. Absolutely. And now you're coming back from that, all the pomp and circumstance, all the celebrations down in Miami, up to the White House, back now to the West Coast. I'm not sold we get vintage Connor Hellebuck tonight here in this game coming off that, and Anaheim might be ripe to capitalize on that.
Yeah, and Winnipeg's, I guess they're technically not eliminated, but they're pretty far down there. Their chances of making the playoffs are pretty slim. Obviously very disappointing after last season's regular season, but to your point, he played the game of his life. He wins the gold medal. He's in the White House. He's partying with all those guys. I could see him kind of taking his foot off the gas the rest of the year. It'll be different if they win 3 or 4 games right out of the gate, and then all of a sudden, they're sniffing the wild card and they kind of get that momentum going. But, if they lose, 2 or 3 games in a row to start this post-Olympic break, then I think they're kind of toast. So I do agree. I think, it's easy to look at it and say, well, he just played the best game of his life, so he's probably still in that form. But that was there's been quite a bit of things that have happened since that game too. You look at the travel, and not only did he have to travel back from Italy, but he was in Miami, then he was in DC, and now he's in Southern California 3 hours prior. Like, he's probably all sorts of fucked up. So I love the first period and full game over here. I'll probably do the first period over pregame on its own, and then have a 1.5, 5.5 parlay pregame. And then if I can jump in, if there's some pace early and we don't get a goal, then maybe I'll hop on a 5.5 by itself as well. See if we can triple dip. So sides wise, I do lean Anaheim. It is a decent price. I think if I were to take it, I'd probably take the money line and team total over split. I'm guessing it's 3.5. And I think, for them to get 4 goals in this game, if they're going to win this game, I think they get 4 goals, no problem. So I think my approach will be mainly on the overs, but I would lean Anaheim if I did have to take a team.
Yeah, what I'm going to do is I took an Anaheim money line and team total against Edmonton the other night. Obviously, we cashed both of them. I'm going to sprinkle pregame. There's an over 3, a flat 3 at minus 135 at BetMGM, I think it is, that has it. BetMGM. Sprinkle on it pregame. I'll add, if we get Anaheim to not score for a little bit to start the game, and I can get 2.5 at a good price, I will add that live team total. That 2.5 is my target. That for a more significant bet on the Anaheim team total. But I'll dabble in the over 3 pregame with the intentions of adding 2.5 live during the game if I see it at some point to go with the money line as well. And like I said, we'll look for a live over 5.5 as well during the game. If you're Connor Hellebuck, this is tough. This has been the whirlwind, 5 days of your life with winning the gold, the best game of your career as a goaltender, all the parties, all the travels back to the West Coast, and you go from seeing you're in between the pipes and you're playing goal for Team USA, and you see multiple guys that are likely going to be in the Hall of Fame when their careers are over, are great players, great careers. Charlie McAvoy, Jacob Slavin, Quinn Hughes, Brock Faber, all these great defensemen. And then now you're going to be in between those pipes tonight with the Winnipeg Jets, and you're going to be staring out there, and you're going to see, wow, look who's playing in front of me tonight. I've got Elias Salamonson, Ville Heinola, Dylan DeMello, aging, slowing down Luke Shen, playing in front of me tonight on the blue line. It's not quite the same zest. It's not quite the same.
Isn't it funny how you can throw shade on NHL players that are active NHL players just when you're comparing them to these Olympic rosters? Like,
that's true.
On a normal day, it's like those are all great hockey players, but just when you compare them to those guys that were in that US-Canada game, it's like a whole different world.
Yeah, these are guys that are playing in the NHL. They're good hockey players, obviously, playing in the best league in the world. But it's just comparing them to an all-star crew on the blue line that he had there with Team USA. It's just, so it's like I said, I think it's a little emotional hangover potential here for Hellebuck. Now, he could prove me wrong and put up a goose egg, shut out the Ducks, or hold them to 1 goal, and Winnipeg wins 3-1 or something. That could happen. But like I said, I think it's difficult, to have your best game coming off the whirlwind several days that Connor Hellebuck's had. So we'll see how that goes. Oh, just as far as props go, I mean, Alex loved Leo Carlsson right away coming back from the injury, and he scored obviously against Edmonton. Cutter Gauthier heating up, 3 straight games with a goal for him. How about our guy Seneca? Beckett Seneca for the Anaheim Ducks. He got on the board. That jingle, by the way, it's a phenomenal jingle. The Seneca Casino. Everyone's seen it now. But yeah, Beckett Seneca to score for the Anaheim Ducks. Velarde scored against Vancouver in his return. You're getting a decent price. Perfetti. Perfetti's really got some. Like, if Winnipeg Jets are going to have a big offensive, if they're going to score goals and be very productive offensively the rest of the way, Cole Perfetti's got to have a hand in that. And he did score against Vancouver first game after the break. So like I said, I do think he might be worth a shot as far as a goal prop tonight as well. All right. And by the way, the Logan Stanley power play point, I know Jonathan Davis mentioned it, and Josh Inglis, friend of the show, and in our chat, he does a great job with the hockey content as well. He's on that. That's a great point about, there's value now with Logan Stanley for Winnipeg playing on the top power play unit here in this game tonight. And his power play point prop is like plus 750. It's a great price. So that might be worth a look for sure as well. No argument with that. Yeah, then Irish King mentioned it in the chat. It's true. That would be nice to see the 2 Giraffes drop the gloves, go head-to-head tonight. That would be good to see a scrap with Logan Stanley and with Jacob Trouba. I think a lot of us wouldn't mind seeing that. All right, great stuff. Shout out to everyone. Hit the like button. Make sure you check out wizardsportspicks.com. Look, I don't want to come across like we're desperate here, but like I'm telling you guys, this site's got a ton of great handicappers. Premium picks are available on a daily basis. It's a startup site. We're trying to get sponsorship, trying to get eyeballs to the site. It's definitely going to take time to build this thing. But today is the day to get to the site and buy some premium picks, man. It's Wizard Friday. Everything is like $4.99 for a non-guaranteed premium pick, $9.99 for a guaranteed premium pick. Jump on board, whether it's Matt Robinson, whether it's me, whether it's any of the handicappers on the site. Like, today is the day. I mean, it's Wizard Friday. $5 for non-guaranteed picks, $10 for guaranteed stuff. It's nice and cheap. And the runs have been outstanding. 13-1 college basketball streak for me at Wizard Sports Picks. We got 2 college basketball plays tonight. NBA's profitable, number 1 ranked handicapper in the NHL on the website as well. So all of that, check it out. I also was host of Beyond the Lines, as I am every Friday. So make sure you check out that video. We gave you 3 picks on that video. So even if you're not going to buy any picks on the website, check out the video. Beyond the Lines, 3 picks on that video. So make sure you check that out, wizardsportspicks.com. Matt, I'm there. Matt's there. Tons of great handicappers. I was also on the Wizard Lair show as a guest with Sniper West, with Tom Macrina, David Delano, the guys that do that show every week. They had me on as a guest to talk a little second half, post-Olympic break NHL. So that was fun. So just support the site. We're trying to get this thing ramped up. Get on board, wizardsportspicks.com, and also make sure, again, you check out the long-term subscriptions that are now available, 3-day, 7-day, 30-day, 1 year, all sports subscriptions available over at wizardsportspicks.com. And, of course, patreon.com/iceguys, just $10 per month. Goalie charts, totals charts, daily betting cards, sides, totals, player props posted each and every day on the Patreon page. The Patreon response, we can't thank you guys enough. It's been great. A lot of people have jumped on board since the Olympic tournament began. It's been great to see. We hope you're getting value out of the content there. Goalie charts, totals charts. We'll give you some bonus info. The daily betting card is significant. We're going to record a couple Player Suite interviews. They'll be exclusive to Patreon members as well in the next few weeks. And, of course, lots of Patreon live betcasts still to come. Plenty of live betcasts, and we're looking forward to that. We're going to have a couple in March, and then we're going to have a ton once we get to April, May, and June. We're not going to have as many betcasts in March as we want because, look, I've got to focus somewhat on the NCAA tournament and college basketball. It's that kind of month. It's a college basketball month, and I love hockey, and I'll be still dialed into the hockey. But let's be honest, March is for college basketball primarily, and that takes a lot of my attention in the month upcoming. So that's why it's going to be a little bit more scarce with the betcast volume in March. But trust me, when we get to April, we are going to be fast and furious, betcasts left and right for you for the remainder of the regular season and into the Stanley Cup playoffs. So make sure you get on board. Most of them, by the way, will be Patreon exclusive live betcasts. We're only doing 1 free betcast a month now for the public. 1 a month. That's it. The other betcasts are going to be just for our Patreon members. So make sure you get on board. $10 per month. Your membership goes a long way to supporting the show and keeping it going long term. Patreon.com/iceguys. And last but not least, the Ice Guys store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. Get yourself some Ice Guys gear and Ice Guys merch at the Ice Guys store. Take advantage of that. I believe there's a discount offer for 1 more day. So get your gear and your merch over at the store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. All right, bargain bin special of the night and best bets coming up right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsors.
Wizard Sports Picks, featuring the finest handicappers in the universe. Sharp insights, trusted picks, and relentless results. We strive to help you become consistent winners. This is Wizard Sports Picks.
All right, bargain bin special of the night for this Friday slate. Only 4 games to choose from, but sometimes we do our best work with the bargain bin special of the night segment on the smaller cards. Hopefully that is the case tonight. Matt, we'll start with you. What do you got for bargain bin special of the night?
Yeah, short card, but I have 2. One is going to be pretty predictable, and then one I've got a couple signs that have led me to it. So first and foremost, we'll go out to that Sabres game. Josh Doan I had to search for it, but he is plus 310 on DraftKings. It's the only place I saw that he was over plus 300. I saw him like plus 290, plus 285, but saw plus 310 on DraftKings. So Josh Doan, anytime goal, got to go with it. Whenever I'm on the show, he seems to score. So that's my freebie. No one's really surprised by that one. But the other one, you sort of mentioned him. Alone, he's not bargain bin material. But Logan Cooley for Utah. So I was looking back, I'm not a big trends and signs person, but just out of curiosity, I was kind of looking. His last goal was scored November 28th against the Dallas Stars. So that was a sign to me, scored against my favorite team in the last goal he scored. He did have the assist against the Avs. But when you look into it, because I was kind of debating, do I parlay him with something? Do I do this or that? So I was looking at it from a first goal perspective. And if you look, his last goal against the Dallas Stars, November 28th, not only did he score against Dallas, he scored the first goal of the game. So give me Logan Cooley, first goal of the game tonight, plus 1,600. That'll be my other bargain bet. I think he's going to be eager to get going. After the injury, he did have the assist against the Avs. They're going to want to get him rolling. He's such a good player. He looked, very solid for being out as long as he was in that Colorado game, and I think he only gets better. So give me Logan Cooley, first goal of the game tonight, plus 1,600. That'll be my bargain bet number 2.
That's a little page out of the Alex B. Smith bargain bin special of the night playbook right there with Logan Cooley, first goal for Matt Robinson with the Utah Mammoth. And, of course, Josh Doan with the Buffalo Sabres for Matt's 2 bargain bin specials of the night. For me, bargain bin specials for this night, I'm only going to go with the one tonight, and I normally give you 2. I'm only going with the one tonight. It's one I like quite a bit. He scored in the return from the Olympics in the first game back the other night for Buffalo against New Jersey. That price is just awesome. Peyton Krebs, Buffalo, plus 575 at FanDuel. It's a great price. He's on the top line. He's playing with Tage Thompson. Tage Thompson's playing great. Peyton Krebs is a great price to maybe find the back of the net once again here tonight for the Buffalo Sabres. So Peyton Krebs, Buffalo, plus 575 for my Friday bargain bin special of the night. Cooley has scored the Mammoths' first goal 4 times this season, according to Jonathan Davis. So that is good to know.
Yeah.
Good stat.
Yeah. It's weird. Every year there's guys that just like seem to score first goals of games. And he's just a guy that comes to mind. It's usually a quick guy, maybe gets a break on his first shift, pots one early. So we'll see tonight. But hopefully it comes through for us.
There you go. All right. So Peyton Krebs for me, and of course 2 for Matt with Logan Cooley plus 1,600 first goal, and Josh Doan as well, anytime goal for Buffalo for the bargain bins tonight. All right, best bets. Matt, we'll start with you. What do you like here for best bet?
Yeah, there's no way I could bet anything else. This is a bet that I put in on Wednesday. I'm going to take the Wild and Utah over 5.5. The Wild's been so hot to overs. Utah can score at home, as well. So I love that over. If you did miss out on the 5.5, as we know they're not there, first period full game, I would condone. It's plus 135. If you take first period 1.5, full game 5.5, you get plus 135. I like that bet as well. I will be on it as well. But for purpose of the best bet, Wild Utah over 5.5. That'll be my best bet for this Friday night.
There you go. Minnesota, Utah over. And because Matt used that, look, that probably is my favorite bet, but I'm going to give you something different. I've used Minnesota overs more than enough with best bets. So I'm going to give you something different. I'm going to go to that Winnipeg-Anaheim game. Give me the Quackers. Quack, 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 quack. Give me Anaheim. Minus 130 against Winnipeg. Minus 128. Look, there's even a couple minus 125 prices still out there with Anaheim. I think this is a tough spot for not only the Jets, but more so their goalie, Connor Hellebuck. I don't think he's going to be sharp tonight. You're coming off the game of your life, all the celebrations. You were honored as you rightfully deserved, for that great performance. I think it's going to be very difficult to sustain that and play that well again here tonight. Anaheim, I think they know they got away with one against Edmonton. Yes, they won that game, but I think they know they'd like to be a little bit better in this game tonight. And like I said, I know Winnipeg beat Vancouver, but that's not showing me something. Beat a good team. And I'm not sure they're able to here tonight. And don't forget, there's multiple defensemen, including the best defenseman by far, still out of the lineup for Winnipeg in Josh Morrissey. So they're shorthanded on the blue line. A team like Anaheim can take advantage of that and make them pay. So Anaheim minus 125 for my best bet for this Friday card. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. Matt, starting next week, Matty Robb will be joining us Thursdays for his second show of the week. So it'll be Tuesday, Thursday for Matt Robinson on the show starting next week. And as our good friend from North Carolina, David, will be joining us Fridays starting next week. So that's just a little change in the guest schedule, the contributor schedule, if you will, for the Ice Guys show starting next week. But great to have Matt back in the saddle again here on this edition of the show. Hit the like button on the way out. Reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday, Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Matt Robinson, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Friday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will be back with you tomorrow on Saturday, noon Eastern, for another edition of the Ice Guys.